Hey everybody, welcome to PDQ A, where I stand like an idiot in front of the camera while Josh and Colby answer all your questions. We'll keep on going as long as we have questions, so hopefully we can just dive right into that.
All right, should we start us off?
Yep.
All right, first question of the day, here we go.
All right, let's see if I can do this. Like I said, I've got big shoes to fill, so.
It looks like we got the countdown up, guys.
Okay. Oh, and we got to remove the countdown.
Cool.
Just minimize that countdown there.
All right.
Alrighty, this is fun.
It's all learning. Like I said, they brought out the young people to learn live.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We're figuring it out.
We're still going to answer all these questions, or Josh and Colby are still going to answer all these questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Don't make it these
Well,
final
at least
countdown.
we'll try.
We'll try.
If we can't, then I'll just keep drinking, and by the end of this, someone might have to roll me out of here instead of me walking out.
There you go. I am fine to keep drinking. I have no.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I do have somewhere to be at some point. Well,
I mean, I don't have to leave till 5:30. So.
We got all day.
yeah, there we go. All right, so I guess while we're waiting, should I just read one of the questions from here without having it up on the board?
Yeah. Let's have a first question, and then we can just talk about it.
All right, so I just go in order here, Colby. You're kind of in charge of the queue here.
I can read it to you.
Let's do it.
So here we go. Let's do, this is a question from our friend Bill. He says, if a client reports it does not support WMI-ACPI, is the only fix to upgrade the BIOS?
Boy,
I've never even seen that error. I have never heard of that error. I'm kind of confused, to be honest, because WMI is Windows, that's OS. I'm not sure how the BIOS is getting involved.
I don't know.
Unless it's some BIOS thing that WMI is pulling out of the BIOS.
Well, at least we're drinking early, huh?
Why not? Here we go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've never seen that error, so I've never had to dive into on a way to correct it. If you open up a ticket with support, I can't guarantee an answer, but we'll definitely try to replicate and see if we can't fix that for you.
Yeah.
All right, next question. I think we're still on camera 1 as well.
I think that was my fault, because I called the camera person out to check some stuff out. You know, we'll do it live. Learn live. It's great.
We are camera 2 now.
All right.
Camera 1 now. And here we go.
Okay, next question.
Oh, God. Let's see if I can do it without Kelly here.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Am I supposed to? Okay.
Oh, heck.
I don't know where we're at here.
Oh, God.
Jordan, why don't you just read the next one?
All right, so for PDQ Link, I assume you need to have port forwarding configured to the Link server, right? Let's go to our Link expert. And
Yes.
Josh loves it when we call him that.
Well, I try. I pretend. I fake to be one on camera. There is so many ways to get that traffic there. Port forwarding is probably the easiest. You can expose an entire IP if you've got a lot. At the end of the day, you need TCP 443 traffic to get from outside to inside to that link server. Whichever way you want to accomplish that is kind of up to you. It's a choose your own adventure book.
Okay, yeah, so a lot of ways to handle that one, but the method in there would absolutely work.
Yeah, that would absolutely work.
Okay. All right, next question.
All right. So, next question is up on the screen, correct?
Yes, it is.
I did it right. It's the third time's the charm.
I can see it.
This is great. So, our friend Toddley York says, I am looking for a way to utilize multiple AD security groups and multiple levels of a tree for a collection without using each level as a separate criteria.
All right, so if I'm understanding, I'm trying to break down the question. You're trying to use the security group to break up the grouping instead of the actual OU level, or am I misunderstanding the question?
Okay. I think so if you open up an inventory collection and you want to do I think we should run with this from the AD path, right?
Okay.
Maybe from the AD path it's AD path contains. And then you could, if you really wanted it to be a single line, you could use regex, but then you have two problems. You have your first question, then you have a regex problem too. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could have multiple in there that's AD path, starts with this, AD path starts with this, or AD path starts with this, and then you have one collection of all of those.
All right, so I'm going to pretend like I can write a a path here on my own. So it's what CN is the first one, and then, anyways. So the main part of the collection is you basically want to set your 80 path contains there with the path you're looking for, and then just basically have multiple filters for each path.
That's what I'm thinking. And then whether you want it to meet all of the criteria, you use all, or if you want an any, then you can have it meet the different criteria.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know of a way without diving into it if you can specify security group specifically in the filter, but you can definitely 80 path.
Yeah, you can do security groups as well, I think, as long as it's a computer security group.
Okay,
yeah,
so-
yeah. If you start getting into the user security groups, you're going to be in a bad way in inventory.
Okay, yeah, so, yeah, hopefully that helps you at least get started, but that's one where I'm having a hard time even visualizing how to approach that, which is why I'm drinking. All right,
Take another one.
next question.
Next question comes again from Bill. How can we tell if a particular PowerShell module is installed on a remote computer?
Well, most likely with PowerShell, that module is going to be loaded when PowerShell starts up, not by default. So I believe there is something out there where you can look at modules that load by default. I can't remember the name of the file. Maybe Colby knows.
Modules are have to go in specific directories. There's like a system level one, and there's user level. I kind of think there might be other folders. So one of the things you can do is look for, set up like a file scanner and look at each of those directories, because each module will have its own folder with versions in it.
Yeah.
There is a commandlet get installed module, but I don't know if that pulls it for all users.
Yeah, I think that's only you'd have to have PowerShell up and running on that machine to get that, not necessarily the default.
Could you use a PowerShell scanner? Like if you just wanted to know it for the inventory user, like what modules were available for the scan user?
So, but the problem is that we have to look at the file again, because the modules only load when you start up the script editor, not by default. And it's not something that's listed there without.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, no, the modules exist in folders.
The folders, yes, but you can't use get installed module if there's no instance running, or is that going to look at the file share instead, or the files instead of the instance itself?
Yeah, get installed module looks at all of them that are installed, and modules are loaded when you try to access any of the commandlets in them. You don't necessarily have to run like import module or have it in your profile or anything.
Yeah, that happens pretty much by default anymore. Yeah, so it's not so much, I guess, PowerShell, but more file search on that one. We're going to look for specific information on that.
I learned something new today. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, next question.
Yes, we are. All right.
I think we answered that one. That's the port forwarding one.
Port forwarding, we are good to go. That was a quick answer.
Well,
Excellent. So on to the next one. We have from our friend Federico. Any updates on PDQ Link? I don't see any answer from the PDQ team to issues that people are posting on the community forum. Thank you.
Hey, Federico. So the community post there is for the community. PDQ gets in there every once in a while and checks on stuff. The thing about PDQ Link is it's so dependent on your environment and the way that you want to configure it. It's really hard to be able to answer specific questions without a ton more information that you might not be comfortable posting in a public place. If you have some specific questions about Link or some specific things you're running into, you can reach out to us as support, and hopefully we can point you in the right direction there.
okay, yeah, so it's kind of most of the issues aren't really a global. It's more of an individual setup, so we need more information from.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need lots and lots of information to be able to make any kind of recommendation at all.
All right, next question.
Onwards and upwards. We have from our friend Marcel. How did you handle the Bad Neighbor TCP IP bug?
I don't even remember reading on that one.
I'm looking to Colby on that one because I don't even know what he's talking about.
Well, normally when stuff like that comes up, I'm the one that's writing about it, so I'm concerned I haven't heard of it. Has it been out for a long time? If so, I need to start writing.
It sounds vaguely familiar. I kind of think it might have been like a couple months ago. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, the last one I remember was the zero logon, which was a month or so ago.
Oh, a good supplement. Very recent and dangerous.
Yeah.
These are fun.
Yep. So it looks like. Oh
literally very recent and dangerous.
Oh wow.
1014.
1014. Okay. I guess we haven't yet. I see that blog was written yesterday. This is the first I've heard of it. I will be writing about it soon, so I'll have a lot more information about it probably by the end of the day.
Add one to the Jordan to-do list.
All right. I'm supposed to answer questions. You're not supposed to give me work.
Surprise.
All right, next question.
All right. Our next question comes from Monica. What specs do you recommend for running deploy and inventory in central server mode? Inventory has been struggling on our central server VM, and I wonder if it could be a virtual network adapter problem or just an underspec'd environment.
So I think we have some, these are the specs we hope for, but I don't know if that accounts for environment size.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that, Jordan, and I'm like, well, there's so many like follow-up questions, like how many machines, how
Yeah.
often are you scanning?
Yeah, there's a lot of settings in your options where you can try to limit, I guess, the resource utilization. But in that one, it feels like a trial and error, where you're just gonna have to try expanding in certain areas to see. It's without knowing how many machines, it's hard to come up with anything specific.
Yeah, something you can look at there is like the SMB specific settings, and that's not going to be in like inventory. That's going to be in Windows itself. Like what version of SMB are you using? Are you allowing SMB multi-channeling? That type of stuff. Because since we use SMB as that runner, that's maybe going to be where your bottleneck's coming from.
Okay.
Also, we recently created a new team that is focused on fixing performance issues. So make sure to stay up to date with the latest release. We're hoping to have a release out within the next probably a couple weeks that has some more performance improvements. And also make sure to have your cleanup settings fairly short. Large history tends to slow things down, or if you have like a scanner, like an overzealous file scanner or anything like that. And then if none of that helps, reach out to support. There are more things that can potentially be tuned.
Yeah, Jordan, if you want to show them in preferences and inventory, it's preferences PDQ Deploy. This is actually one of the larger culprits that I've seen in support, is storing that PDQ Deploy data in inventory, like what packages were deployed and when. A lot of times people will turn that to disabled. And if stuff happens over and over and over, you get like years worth of data in there for machines that's not really actionable, but can be slowing things way down.
Okay.
And it doesn't delete anything from the deploy database to chime in over here. It just changes what inventory pulls out of the deploy database.
Yeah, Monica said it's 200 machines scanning, what would you say, 3 times a week on a schedule. That doesn't seem like it should be bogging down with that one. That's not.
That smells like a support ticket to me.
Yeah, send it to support. Would love to.
Or move
take
it
a
to
look at
another
that.
machine, see if it's something Windows related.
Yeah.
Our tried and true favorites.
All right. Next question.
Next question comes from Chris. I want to start by saying PDQ Link has been a treat. Thanks. Getting people to log on to our existing VPN by hand regularly was more of a problem, more effort than we thought. How will we be able to start PDQ Link minimized?
I mean, I might be wrong here, but I thought after the initial install where it's up and running, it is minimized, but it doesn't start minimizing.
It's not, unfortunately. And I don't think that there's a setting to configure that. Maybe down the line. Sorry.
Yeah, and grabbing stuff like a window like that with PowerShell to have something go in after the fact and minimize it for you would be difficult without specific modules to be able to find that window. So I can't think of any way to automate that with PowerShell, at least easily.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question comes from our friend Hayner. Is there a tool in PDQ that can help install a network printer to a user working from home?
I recently wrote a blog on using PowerShell to install a printer. If they are connected over VPN and can reach it, it should work. It basically, you basically need a driver that is signed, or else it's going to throw up an error. But other than that, following that blog, I don't know if we can throw it up there, should help you to get it installed with a deployment package.
And part 2 from Hayner.
All
Is
right.
there a tool in PDQ that can help map a network drive for a user working from home?
I mean, map and network drive, if you can do it with command line or PowerShell, you can do either one of those as an inventory tool and send it to them.
Make sure you run it as that logged on user, since
Yeah.
that's user context.
Yes, logged on user. If you run it as you, it's not gonna work for you. So they'll have to be actually logged on, and you have to run it as that logged on user.
That's a situation where, if possible, I'd recommend using group policy.
Group
Agreed.
policy is always a good option.
100% agree.
And if you can get them connected to the VPN, then you've got your path paved for group policy. Next question comes from Joshua C. I have a package set to auto-download 3 days after it has become available, and have a schedule created to deploy to some test computers every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, with a second schedule to deploy to the general population on Thursdays. Is there a way to set PDQ to not auto-download on Thursdays?
Boy. So you basically, is it a different schedule for each one? So it's downloading the package on every day that it's sending out, or it's another one I'm trying to track it here.
I'm thinking about that, like thinking that one through, and the auto download settings are days after release.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that there's a way that you can set it to say don't do it on Thursdays. Because if you had it like 5 days before, then and it was released Sunday, then well, no, now it's Thursday.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, all I can think of is if you're having to download the package on each one of those days and have a different schedule, you can have multiple schedules point to that one on when they send out, so it only has to download the one time.
You could have multiple iterations of the same package with different approval windows. So it necessarily wouldn't be Thursday, but it might be a day later.
But it is still downloading multiple at that point. So I can't think of a fantastic way to avoid that one. All right, next question.
Alrighty. We have a repeat from Chris. Do you have any tips or best practices for PDQ Link security?
I think Josh covered a lot of those on the webcast we did on that one. He went into a lot of detail on that. I'd recommend looking up that webcast and rewatching that one, and he gives you just about any information you could want on getting that set up and making sure you're secured. Next question.
This one is for Jordan specifically from Jeremy. Hey Jordan, how can I make a PowerShell scanner to get the lapse expiry? Pretty sure my lapse scan user can't have AdmPwdReadPasswordPermission. Thanks.
So if your scan user doesn't have that one, luckily for that one, it is an AD attribute. It's not specific to the scan user, so you could use a different set of credentials if you're just pulling it the one time, and it's querying your AD, not the machine itself, for the lapse expiry date. So either you can have a different credential that you run that one as, or you can just run it independent, and it's just make sure the machine has the ability to pull the users and computers, and it has the module for you, or the lapse PowerShell it installs when you get there.
All right. Totally York, again, love your name. For an offsite location of mine, I have an MPLS direct network connection with a zero-access firewall, which is corporate managed, and an SMB access is blocked from the home site. Can Central Server enable deploy through a dedicated machine without needing SMB connections from home? SMB functions fine offsite.
I think SMB is going to be necessary in any case for deploy to work.
I have an idea.
Okay.
It's not the most elegant solution, right? Now, can you get a deploy server in the inside of that firewall, and then can that firewall allow client connections coming in on the client port? So you would be on the other side of the firewall in client mode, and then controlling the server on the inside.
But he said the firewall was corporate managed, so he can't modify anything with that one.
That's a mother may I please have these two ports?
Yeah,
please?
and at that point, if you're getting to them where they can manage, convincing them to open up SMB is probably your best bet over a workaround, but it's definitely going to require something along those lines.
Yeah. Shoot.
Sorry about that.
Our next question comes from G. Baxter. Is it possible to set up devices, desktops and laptops, to only get Windows updates from PDQ Deploy? I find that although I have a policy for this already, Windows still has the power to overwrite updates and forces everything.
So this can be tough. Normally, if you're stopping the Windows updates, you're doing it through group policy, but a lot of that only works if it's the enterprise or education. So it could depend on what version of OS you have. The home might just not be taking that policy in. Other than that, we struggled with that in here for a while where our machine kept on updating. I don't know if there was a direct fix for that. It's a lot to try to, like, Windows really wants to push that to you whether you want it or not. It takes a lot.
You can point it to a WSUS instance and then just not ever approve anything.
Oh, there you go. So you have to set up a WSS instance that never...
Yeah.
It just sits there. It's just like a pacifier for the machines.
Yeah, I mean, that would work because nothing's approved and it's not going to send it through.
Mm-hmm.
And if you dislike WSUS for some reason, I've heard anecdotally that Windows Update for Business is better. I haven't tried it or anything, but
Yeah, unfortunately, Windows is really gung-ho to get that to you no matter what you want. Yeah.
Our next question comes from Max. Any way to grab model boards would be awesome. Any way to grab the motherboard model in inventory? Currently, it grabs info from the WMI class ComputerSystem, which doesn't always have motherboard info. Sometimes it has computer model, not motherboard. Motherboard info is stored in BaseBoard class, but I have no idea how to add a column with that info.
So in that one, if you're not grabbing it by default and you know where it's located, you could do a WMI scanner or a PowerShell scanner using the WMI, where you can go to where you know it's at, and then it would create its own collection for you based on that, but it would not add to the main page to be sortable. But you could create a scan that has that information that you could then build collections off of, or if you wanted to separate by motherboard module on that one. As far as specifically where they're located, I'm not sure exactly where that would be, but it looks like you've got a good start on that.
Well, and if you've already found the class, if you found the baseboard class, if you found it in the WMI, you could just pop a new WMI scanner into inventory.
Yep.
Next question. With Link, I'm seeing in DHCP that all of the connections are showing my server name, and there seems to be some confusion with DNS for which machine is on which IP. Any advice? Signed, Bethany.
I'm just going to hand that right to Josh.
Bethany, are you looking in DNS or DHCP? If you're using the DHCP option, that RAS server role will go to that DHCP server and it will just grab a block of DHCP leases and it'll say it's reserved by that. When the devices on the outside actually connect, they'll be issued one of those and those devices should be registering with your DNS servers. So that's probably why it looks like in DHCP that they're all the same of your Link server.
Right.
The next question comes from B. Smith. We are a high school with more and more staff going remote off and on, and I missed the whole release and info about PDQ Link and am very interested. Where is the best place to start and get the info?
I think the webcast Josh did was... I think everyone was super thrilled with the information in there. I don't know if we can link that in the chat for you, but I would definitely recommend watching that. Other than that, I believe we have a little bit of web documentation on it and how it can help you out. And outside of that, if you have other questions, contact support. We're happy to help you out. All right.
Our last question comes from Jorlando. Is it possible to have the inventory scans not create profiles on each machine? Maybe scan without creating my profile on PCs. I turned this on in my organization and got many questions about my profile showing up on people's PCs. It's off now. Also, with users remote now, I don't want to bog them down with scans. Thanks.
Unfortunately, the back end wouldn't be a great one to...
Yeah, that's a Windows logon for that user, your scan user.
Yeah.
So that's a Windows thing. That's not an inventory thing.
We do have to authenticate to it to be able to run all of that as a service, so it's...
We do.
Yeah, it's
to,
good.
so to get around that, maybe create a service account so it doesn't look like it's you, the IT department that's logging in. And then as far as limiting scans when users are remote, you could set that up with triggers or conditions. That's up to you.
Our actual last question that we have in the queue comes again from Bethany. What would be the best practices for Link around scavenging settings as I'm seeing DNS not keeping up with correct information?
Ooh, I put out a blog on that one. I'm thinking Colby might be able to find it very quickly, but it's managing computers over a VPN, and it's not Link specific. It's just a VPN in general. and kind of walk through the problems that we had with our firewall and our VPN here and what we did to remedy it. Hopefully there's some information in there that can help you out.
Got two.
Yeah, if you're looking to get very aggressive on scavenging, I believe in the bonus content I do have PowerShell out there that will go through and be far more aggressive than your scavenging settings. But there's risk with that one. It is going to be removing a lot of data and having it repopulate. So if the scavenging is not keeping up even with your aggressive settings, you can use PowerShell on those machines to clean it up and get far more aggressive. But like I said, you want to test that one out and make sure it's meeting your needs before you go live with that one. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, we had some good answers for you. We were able to help you out. Hopefully, as we go on, since we're going to be seeing more and more of us on the webcast, we'll be able to get the ball rolling. You won't even be able to tell that Kelly and JJ aren't here. For PDQ, I'm Jordan.
Thank you for joining us on our wonderful webcast journey this fine Thursday morning. We have loved having you, and we have loved being here. I would like to thank our two lovely winners of swag, Bethany and G. Baxter. Stay tuned for your swag.